Hi there, I'm Demi. Welcome to the homestead. Here we dive into all things homesteading, self-sufficiency, and living a more intentional life. From growing your own food to DIY projects to just simply living tips. Today I'm going to tell you all you need to know to start composting yourself, even if it is in a smaller space like a smaller garden or even on a balcony. I'm going to talk about the chemistry behind composting, as well as just give you a few tips on how to get started, how to compost correctly, and how you can speed up the process just a little bit. Now, what actually is composting? Composting is a natural process of turning organic matter into rich and fertile soil that you can use into your gardens. And with organic matter, I mean anything from your kitchen scraps to garden waste like grass clippings or just weeds that you pull out. But also you can use animal manure and the bedding that you use for instance, your chicken coop. There are a lot of things that you can use in your garden, but there are some things that you're gonna have to watch out for. I'm going to get into that a little bit later on in this video. Now, as far as I know, there are 3 main ways that you can compost at home. Method number 1 being the traditional just compost pile that you have somewhere in the corner of your garden. It's a simple pile where we lay like greens and browns on top of each other. I'll get into the chemistry of this a little bit later on in the video too, so just bear with me. But in this piling method, you kind of just let nature do its own thing without touching it too much. We just build up our pile and then after like 3 months turn it over, and that's the only thing we're doing with it. It is the method that takes the longest time to process, so it's gonna take a little bit more time before you actually have some compost that you can use in your garden. Method number 2 is the tumbler, and I think most of you should have seen this by now. Self-Sufficient Me did some videos on it. Epic Gardening, I think, did a video on this. I'm also going to edit it into the video, but it's kind of like a big bin, like this big. And it's round, typically with like a little doorway that you can open. In the same way as you would use a compost pile, you would still layer your browns and greens. But what makes this very user-friendly is that it's small and compact, so it's neater this way, and you don't have to have like an open, smelly pile in your garden. And what you would do with this tumbler is you would just turn it every now and then. I've seen people turn it every week. I've seen people turn it like twice a week or maybe even every day. It's really up to you and how much you want to be involved. Now let's talk a little bit about the science behind composting, and I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. For composting you basically need 4 things. 1 being greens, 2 being browns, 3 being air, and 4 being moisture. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to make a perfect living environment for bacteria and other microbes that will process your compost for you. So greens. Greens are wet, so think kitchen scraps, think garden waste like grass clippings. Greens are rich in nitrogen. Nitrogen is acidic and it's also a great source of protein for these microbes that we are trying to grow. 2 is browns. Now browns are dry. Think dry leaves, cardboard, the bedding that we use in our chicken coop, straw, hay, anything like that. Browns are mainly composed of carbons, and carbon is a really good energy source as well for these microbes. Number 3 is air. Fresh air has oxygen in it, of course, and there are a ton of bacteria in your compost that need oxygen to survive, just like we do. Once your compost has been sitting for a little while, all the oxygen gets used up, and all the existing air pockets that originally had oxygen in them will get filled with nitrogen. Once all oxygen is used up, all of the organisms in your compost will die out. And this will leave your compost like kind of half done, half decomposed. And you can battle this issue by layering your greens and browns. By layering your greens and browns, you kind of allow for these air passageways between the browns. Another way to add air into your compost is just to turn it, of course. This way you kind of fluff up your compost, allowing for the nitrogen air to escape and fresh air to re-enter into your compost. Number 4 is moisture, and of course your greens are already wet, but we're gonna have to wet down the pile every now and then to keep our browns wet as well. This way we kind of soften up the browns just so the microbes will be able to reach them and eat from it. You don't really need a lot of moisture depending on your pile, of course, but as long as it is damp on the inside, then it's fine. And if you don't know if your compost is too wet or too dry, you can always just grab a handful, kind of mush it around in your hand, and if it feels damp or like kind of like a wrung out sponge, Then it has the right amount of moisture that you need. Now here are just some common mistakes that you can avoid. These are just a few things to look out for, and these will let you know if you're doing something a little bit off and you need to add something else to it. Number one, if your compost is very slimy and it smells a lot, then you probably have too much green. And what you can do to fix this problem is to just add more browns. What I do to fix this is I just shred up all of the cardbox that we have laying around and I just add that to the pile. Of course, removing all of the plastic tape first. Number two is if your compost doesn't seem to get smaller over time and your browns are not dissolving, then you probably have too little greens. And just like the first one, you can just add your greens back into the pile, or you can just use animal manure to speed up the process a little bit. Number three is if your compost pile looks, it's not too wet, but it is very stinky, then you probably just have to turn it for air to be let into it. This could be due to just your compost like compacting down on itself, but it could also be that you didn't layer your compost correctly. But this is very easy to fix by just turning it again. Number four, if you forget to water your compost, it will turn bone dry. This will make the decomposing process slow down significantly, and it might eventually even stop the process entirely. So remember to water your compost, then you don't have to start all over again. And then I just have a list of things that you should never compost, in my opinion at least. Of course, any food you've grown that you've put pesticides over, you should not put into your compost because it will get absorbed by the plant and you will eat it through your plants. Also, with plants that seemed ill that you removed from your garden, you should never add ill plants to your compost because that disease will spread through your entire garden bed. And then other things like dairy, fish and meat, I personally don't compost them in my compost pile. I will dig them into my garden bed like on their own, because my compost pile is not sectioned off and the smell of rotting meat or dairy or fish will attract rodents that will dig through your compost pile. And then of course cooking oils, waste from animals that eat meat like dog or cats. And of course remove your stickers from your fruit, the tape from cardboard. And then again, anything that attracts rodents like whole eggs, they will rot and they will smell. Like apart from the rodents coming to get them, it's just the stench of rotten eggs on your compost is like, no. How you should know that your compost is now done? First of all, you shouldn't recognize anything that you put in there. If there's still cardboard in it, then it's not done yet. Compost that's fully done should look a little bit like this. It should be a crumbly dark soil that forms a perfect clump when you like mush it in your hands, but it falls apart easily too. If your soil is too clay-like, you can add more cardboard. If it seems too loose, you can add some more greens. It might take a few months before you can spread out your compost in your garden. Of course, depending on the method that you used. The method that I used, the pile, is going to take a lot longer than the tumbler, of course. But there are some things that you can do to speed up the process just a little bit. For instance, you can cut up your greens very small and layer them very thinly between your browns. This way the microbes can reach them more easily and they have a lot more surface to cling onto. You can turn your pile more frequently, like I said with the tumbler. If you turn your tumbler more frequently, then it tends to be faster. Keeping your compost moist, of course, it ensures that everything keeps decomposing as it should be. Now, if you do everything right with compost, you can have compost from like 4 to 8 weeks. The piling method that we use, it takes us around 3 months, 3-4 months maybe. Now let me know in the comment section what compost method you are currently using or which one you are planning to use. And if you have any questions about the chemistry behind it or like setting it up, you can always ask me for advice. I would love to help, and I would also love to read all of your comments on this. And of course, like always, I will try to respond to every single one of them. If you like educational videos like this, then please leave a like, because that way I know what kind of videos you enjoy watching and I know what to make more of. Also, if you want to get a notification when I upload again, please subscribe down below and turn on the little notification bar. That really helps out my channel and I really do appreciate that. So again, thank you for everyone who's new. And with that being said, I hope to see you in my next video. Goodbye!